usually try to wait. What have you heard a lot about this past weekend?
Sorry, man.
Nothing really, because I isolated myself from most people. I wanted to, as I told you guys at the end of the game, I wanted to watch the tape, and I did, and I watched it 2 or 3 times, and every time I watched it, it was the same tape. You know, we missed a lot of shots. It's crazy because I didn't think Virginia Tech played that much better than us. At the end of the day, they did score 47 points, but I thought both teams really struggled. It was one of the worst games that I've ever been associated with. There's no reason for it. We didn't make shots. We had great looks. I counted myself. I thought we had 14 wide open looks that didn't go down. And, you know, so what I've done with the team is they will never see the tape. I'm hoping that none of you guys will ever post it or it be on YouTube, and we just want to move past it and just get better from it.
You've had 3 games in a row where teams wanted to slow you down. Now you face one that is not going to want to slow you down. Do you think that's kind of the perfect mix for what this team needs right now?
Well, let's say this. We're playing, you know, one of the hottest team, if not the hottest team in the ACC. Certainly Virginia's played well and Duke has too. But, you know, since their first loss to Louisville, they've won, I think, 5 in a row, and they're playing well. You know, when you go in and play against a good Carolina team, especially on their home floor, you know what you have to do. You've got to do a great job getting back in transition because they do a great job pushing the ball and scoring in transition, and then they beat you really on the glass. And that's 2 of the biggest keys that, you know, we have to, you know, go by, and we got to get back, and we got to do a great job of blocking out. But it'll be a tough game. This is, as I said this probably a week ago, this is the toughest stretch that I've had as the NC State coach in my young career here.
What did you guys do yesterday in practice? Or did you practice yesterday?
We did. So when I say practice, we got out and we shot for about 20 minutes, and then we watched the first half of the Carolina game, and that was our practice. I wanted to get those guys back out there just to get some shots up so they could feel good about themselves, but I didn't want to get out there and do too much, obviously, after playing that game, and, you know, wanted to save some legs. So this will be our full practice today.
Did you meet with guys like about just kind of, hey, everything all right, kind of things with beyond that part of it?
I did, and not because of that game. I usually go every maybe week and a half or so and try to meet with guys after a game, and just so I schedule meetings for each guy about 10 minutes, and we talked about not just their game, their academics, and how are they doing and what we needed to do going forward, obviously as a team.
You mentioned throwing that tape away and not letting them see that ever again, but any concern or lack of focus that they might have going into the Carolina game, forgetting it in their own mind, regardless of what you show them on tape or not?
Well, I hope not. You don't know that until you get into the next game. What I would tell you is, like, me watching that tape, I think it's a different outcome if we make even half of those shots that we miss. And, you know, I arguably, not percentage-wise, but arguably I've got my best shooter who missed the most of them, which was Braxton Beverly. You know, and, you know, we got good looks after good looks, and it became a trickle-down effect. And, you know, when you look at the halftime score, it explains everything to you. You know, thinking that, you know, 2 teams that like to score, the score is 20-14. Unfortunately, they got a little better in the second half offensively, and we didn't.
I don't know if the first meeting seems like a long time ago in college basketball world, but you guys did force a ton of turnovers that time, and actually probably could have even scored more than 82 points. Is there some positives that you can still bank away from that meeting?
Yeah, look, when you look at our season and you look at our conference, I'm encouraged about every game that we play other than the Virginia Tech game. You know, if you look at it, you know, even against the best in the country, when you talk about UVA, we had our opportunity to win. Carolina here, we had an opportunity to win. People forget that we went on the road for 3 straight games and we didn't have Markel Johnson. You know, I don't know the outcome if he played or not, but it certainly gives us another opportunity to win some games. I think every game in this conference, when you play a team the second time, I've always said this in my career, I think it's a totally different game. So I don't know what this game is going to be.
You've had success motivating Markel before, pushing the right buttons with him. What are some of your tricks can you use here to try to get him going? I don't think it's impossible to overstate his importance to your team.
Yeah, you know, he's got to play like a junior. And one of the things that I've always told him, if anybody on our team has experience, especially in the ACC, that's Markel Johnson. He has to play great on both ends of the floor. He's got to be a leader. He's got to be aggressive. He's one of the best guards in the ACC when he wants to be. And I'm trying to get him to be more consistent each night that we play. And the thing that I tell him, Joe, is that, this team, we need you to be the best version of yourself. We don't need you to be anybody else. But I think his timing is off, Joe, when you think about it, that time that he took off. He doesn't have the same conditioning, so he can't play as hard over longer stretches. And hopefully he'll continue to get that back in these last 9 ACC regular season games.
What's different about this Carolina team with their 5-game winning streak compared to the first matchup that you had against them?
Well, I think the number one thing is they're starting to play good basketball. It takes teams a little while to get going. When you look at it, I'm sure they were pretty embarrassed by the way they played the last Louisville game. And I think they took a look at themselves, and Roy's done a great job of motivating those guys. And certainly from that point on, they played great basketball.
How much are you looking to guys like Markelle and Braxton and TD, who were on the team last year, to kind of lead going into this one because they know what it takes to win in Chapel Hill?
Well, I know a lot of people say, hey, with so much whether you win in Chapel Hill, but it's everywhere. Last year we had to go to Syracuse and we got to win. You had to go to Chapel Hill. It's just being able to play on the road. You have to have much more focus and then at home, you don't have the home crowd or the electricity in the building on your side. So you got to figure a way to play as a team, and you almost have to have that you against the world mentality going in.
It's been easy for people to concentrate on the starters, but you've had stretches where maybe if the stars are off, the bench really came through for you guys and gave that mojo. Do you feel like the bench needs a little confidence too right now to get back on track?
Well, that's a little tricky, and I tell everybody that is because the bench is great, depends on who I start. And so, every guy that hasn't started, which is pretty good, has come off the bench and been very good. And so if I want to light a fire on the guy, maybe I should consider just bringing him off the bench. But our bench has to be great. One thing that is lost in Carolina that people don't talk about is they play a lot of guys also. They've got a lot of guys that can play and can contribute and do a good job. We've got to do the same thing. Our guys who come into games got to be very effective.
Markelle had an all-time game in Chapel Hill last year. Is that something you could point to and show him, or maybe do show him that?
Yeah. Well, the thing that we'll talk about with him is he played great, but I thought he was on go the entire game. He pushed in transition. He did a great job. He did a little bit of everything. He scored the ball when we needed him to. He did a great job of finding people. When you think about the game last year, I thought Al Freeman was tremendous. Going 7 for 7 from the 3, but a lot of that stuff came off Markelle's play.